All right, let's talk about the club face. So first off, as we know, the club face is basically the angle the face is pointed specifically when we get to impact. So a lot of people are going to have an open face or closed face or square face address. Some people have a weaker grip, so strong over here, weaker over here. People are going to have different wrist angles. A lot of different things are going to affect whether this face gets more open or more closed, and we're going to talk about that. And it can change it during the swing. Some people will hood the face more back. Some people have it closed up top. Some people have it closed coming down, and they'll maintain that coming into impact. Some people will do all the same things and start to roll it open by the time they come into impact. Other people will do the opposite. They'll have the face open and they're trying to do something to close it down. Or maybe they'll have it open, but then they'll change their wrist and square up the club face nicely during their swing. There's a lot of different pieces that can affect the club face, and at different times we can measure the club face during the swing. So we're going to talk about people are classically measuring the club face at what times during the swing, but understand the most important time is when we get to impact. Because impact's the only moment where the golf ball and the club are interacting, which is going to send the ball down the target line, or hopefully down the target line. Maybe it sends it sideways if the club face is off. So what we're trying to do is first understand, well, how do we know if our club face is square or not when we get to impact? If we're hitting off a launch monitor or something like that, it won't be very tough. It's going to tell us where our club face is aimed. But how about when we're hitting on the golf course or we're hitting on the driving range? How are we going to know if our face is squaring up or if it's open or it's closed? Well, the club face determines about 80% of our start line. Roughly speaking, the path, how much we're swinging across it one way or another, is going to determine about the other 20%. Now, if you get to something like a hybrid wood driver, that number gets a little bit skewed. But basically, because the number is so big or the percentage is so high for the club face, we can basically say, for all intents and purposes, wherever this club face is aimed when we make contact with the golf ball, that's going to determine the direction the ball initially starts flying towards. Again, path will have a slight pull or push to it, but it's basically where the club face is aimed, that's where the ball starts flying. So knowing that, let's say this stick is going to be our target right here. If we get to impact and we square up our club face, that ball is going to start flying in line with our target. Now, it might curve sideways because of where we contact it on the face or because our path is making the ball curve sideways. But if the ball initially starts on our line, that means we squared up the club face at contact. If our club face is open to the right, that ball is going to start to the right. If it's closed to the left, the ball is going to start to the left. Now, how far open or how far closed the club face is will tell us how far it's starting sideways. If we hit a ball that starts 20 yards right of our target, then we know our club face was about 20 yards right when we got to impact. It was about 20 yards open. Or same thing if we hit it 10 yards left, our club face was 10 yards closed at impact. Now, sometimes we want the club face open, sometimes we want the club face closed. It's relative to the shot we're trying to hit. For example, if we're trying to hit a draw, well, we kind of want that face to be a little bit open. Why? Because if the face is aimed to the right in this direction over here, well, what does that allow us to do? It allows the ball to start to the right of the target, which gives it room to curve back towards the target. Now, in order for it to curve back, we want our face to be a little bit right, and we want to have our path be even more right of our club face so the ball can curve back. But at least if our face is aimed to the right, we have that room to play the draw. Same thing with the fade. If we get our face a little bit closed, that ball is going to start to the left. But if we get our path left of our face, we have room to curve the ball back to the target because our face was aimed left of the target. And obviously, if we're trying to hit a straight shot, we want to square it up straight at the flag or straight down the middle of the fairway or whatever our target ends up being. So the face is pretty much going to determine, for the most part, what our start line is. So if you can pay attention to where your ball initially starts flying towards, not where it curves towards, but if you can pay attention to where it initially starts flying towards, you're going to have a really good idea of where your club face is aimed when you get to impact. If it starts more to the right than you expect it to, the club face is being more open when you're getting into impact. If the ball's starting more left, the face is getting more closed when you get to impact than you were expecting it. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why the face can be open or closed, but the first skill we have to have is to be able to identify our line. Now, what I would do is choose a target either in front of you or in the distance. For example, Jack Nicklaus talked about having a piece of grass or a leaf or a tee or a divot, something about 2-3 feet out in front of his golf ball. So if he was hitting right here, something a little bit out in front of his golf ball, something that he could aim at address and see if you're sending your ball over that target or that start line, or see if it's starting to the right or see if it's starting to the left. Or if you like an object out in the distance, find a tree, find a tree branch, find a telephone pole, find a cloud, find a mountain, look at the flagstick, whatever you want as your reference point. Aim towards that because obviously that's where you're trying to initially start your golf ball, and then say, okay, relative to that target where I'm trying to initially start the ball, did it start on line? Did it start to the right or did it start to the left? It's okay if it doesn't start perfectly on line as long as it's reasonably close. Let's say, for example, we're trying to hit a 10-yard draw. Well, if I'm trying to have my ball start 10 yards right of the target and it starts 15 yards right of the target, well, starting in an additional 5 yards right is reasonable. We're probably not going to miss it very far off line. That's only 15 feet. That's fine. But if we're trying to hit a 10-yard draw and we start at 50 yards right, well, that's going to get a little out of hand. We're going to hit a giant push. We might even hit a push slice because our face is getting so open, and now we're really getting offline. Or if we're trying to hit a 10-yard draw, but our ball starts on line, we're probably going to hit a pull hook to the left, and that's not so good. So if we can get it within a reasonable window, and I don't want to say what that window necessarily is, it depends on your skill level and what you find to be acceptable and how much you practice. But if you can get it within a reasonable window of your target, then you know you're squaring up the club face at least as well as you need to, again, for whatever your skill level is. So that's the first skill, is being able to square up the club face, but more importantly, being able to identify where our club face is. Because if we don't know where it is, how are we going to make an adjustment? If we don't know our club face is open, how are we going to know we need to close it down? Or if we don't know the ball starting to the left because of our club face, how do we know we need to start getting the face more open one way or another? So that's the first skill to learn. Now, from there, let's understand the things that can change the club face during the swing. Now, there's more things than I'm going to list because the list is very, very, very long. But let's look at the main things that can change the club face. Well, number one is the club face at address. Obviously, we have it more open at address. It's easier to have that face be open. And if we have the club face more closed at address, it's easier to have it closed, and square would be less manipulated. I know that sounds funny, but there are a lot of people who set up with a very open face like this. Less will have a hooded face, but some will. But it's not uncommon to see somebody set up to a golf ball with an open face like this. So that's going to influence how open or closed the face is coming down. Doesn't mean you can't square it up, but you got to do other things during your swing in order to square it up. It's not just going to return to the same position and all of a sudden magically be square. Same thing with shaft lean. All things being equal, the more we lean the shaft back this way, the more the face is going to return open when we come into impact. The more we lean the shaft forward, the more the club wants to come in closed when we get to impact. Well, why is that? Let's say at impact, I got the club right here. This is the amount of forward shaft lean I have, or the angle I have my shaft at. Well, if I have the shaft leaning more backwards relative to this position, when I grab it, watch what happens. If I'm right here and the club face is in that position, the more I start to lean the shaft forward to that same lean position, if I don't try and twist the face closed by itself, that shaft lean makes the face get held more open. It shoves the face more open, which means the ball is going to go more to the right. So all things being equal, if I put the club more back relative than normal and I get to my same impact position, the face is going to want to be more open at impact. If I have my hands more forward over here and then all of a sudden I return to this impact position where we're looking to get to, or where most people are trying to get to, or where you normally get to, all of a sudden if you take away some of that shaft lean, that face is going to get more hooded. So if you start to change how far forward or back your hands are, that's going to change the orientation of the club face as well. Lee Trevino used to always talk about that as being one of his tricks. When he wanted to take out the left side, he'd put his hands more back so his face can come in more open and it'd be easier to hit more of a push cut. When he wanted to take out the right, he would set up with his hands more forward. That way the face could close down more easily and he could hit more of a pull draw. You can use it as a tool if you want, but it also is going to influence your face just on a normal shot-to-shot basis. So make sure you're paying attention to your shaft lean, and you could use it as a tool to say, hey, I normally come in with an open club face, but my hands are normally back. Maybe I should have more shaft lean at address, then grab the club, and maybe that'll help by itself. Anyway, having the face open or closed at address is going to affect your face. Shaft lean is going to affect the face. The other thing at address is going to be your grip. Obviously, the more we make our grip weak in this direction, the more the face is going to get open. Now, why? Well, my arms, if I let them hang in a natural position just like this, I'm not twisting one way or another. If I grab the club weak and then let my arms hang naturally where they want to hang by themselves, that twists the face more open. If I had a very strong grip over here and then I let my arms hang where they naturally want to, the face is going to get much more closed. And if I have more of a neutral grip and I just let my arms hang where they naturally do, the face doesn't want to get manipulated one way or another. Again, doesn't mean having a neutral grip is going to square up your club face. Doesn't mean a weak grip is you're going to have an open face, or a strong grip you're going to have a closed face. That's just the tendency it tends to move it towards. Again, there's other things going on in the swing, but again, all things being equal, a weaker grip is going to tend to make the face more open. A stronger grip is going to tend to make the club face be more closed. The other thing we have, the other big thing we have, at least from setup and throughout the backswing, is going to be our wrist angles. Now this is going to translate into the downswing and impact as well, but a lot of people will change them during the backswing. How much we start to bow or flex the lead wrist, or how much we cup or extend the wrist, is going to change the face. If we bow the lead wrist, that makes the face get more closed. If we cup or extend it, the face gets more open. Same thing with the trail wrist, just in reverse. If we flex the wrist right here, we make it more bowed, face rolls open. If we go more into a cupping or an extended position, face gets more closed. And a lot of people will change their wrist going back. Some people won't. Some people will do it in the downswing. Some people won't change at all. But the wrist can change at any point during the swing. And how strong our grip is, how we had the facet address, how we had the shaft lean address, and how much cupping or bowing we have in the wrist when we get to impact is ultimately going to determine where that club face is aimed. Now we have a couple other things that are going to affect it as well. We have our release. Do we have the club flip over like this, where our arms are rotating towards the target, or are we holding our arms more in this direction where we're not letting it rotate towards the target? We're holding the face more open. Or maybe we're adding loft or scooping the golf ball this direction, or maybe we have a huge amount of shaft lean forward over here. The more we start to lean the shaft forward, the more we prevent our arms from rotating towards the target like this, the more we prevent that from happening. Either one of those things are going to hold the face more open. If we start to add more loft or we start to flip the face, either one of those things are going to make the face close more down and the ball is going to start more to the left. So how we release the club is going to affect our face tremendously when we get to impact. The other big thing that's going to greatly affect our path. Now, there's a lot of other things that can affect it too, but the other great thing that affects our path, the last one I want to talk about, that affects our face, is going to be our plane in the downswing and our path. The plane is going to greatly affect our path. When people start to come in more on plane, the face is less manipulated, but when we start to get that club to come in more steep and more over the top in this direction, watch the club face. The more I kick it over the top, the face gets more closed. If you notice, a lot of players with a more open club face tend to come over the top so they have a chance of squaring it up. On the flip side, the more we get this club to shallow out and get more underplane or more shallow over here, again, if you watch the club face, the face gets shoved more open. A lot of players, when they have a very closed club face, are going to start to get the club under plane and tilt and get their body blocked out over here because they're trying to take that closed face and shove it open so they have a chance of squaring it up by the time they get into impact. So the plane we're on is going to affect our face. Again, a more steep and over the top closes the face down, more underplane is holding the face more open. Again, not any one of those things is going to determine whether the face is open or closed, but the combination of those things are. So what you get to do is, now that you have those tools, and again, there's other things that are involved as well, but now that you have the main tools, start analyzing yourself and saying what part of those things are getting off or what things am I doing correctly, you can make some adjustments. You can start to say, hey, I've noticed my ball always goes to the right. I have a really hard time squaring up the club face. I'm always hitting pushes and slices off to the right. Well, first thing I understand is my club face is open. So that's a good place to start. Now you can start to go through the checklist. You can say, okay, well, why is my club face open? You should put yourself on video, both face on from down the line, so you can actually see what you're doing. You're not just going off of your own feels and what you think you're doing. And once you put yourself on video, you can go through the checklist. You can say, okay, is my face at address more open than I think? Because to my eye, it might look square, but if I put myself on camera, I might see that my face is actually open, and that's why I'm hitting a push slice to the right. Or maybe my hands are more back than I thought they were. They're not more forward in this direction when I grab the club. So maybe I want to change that. Maybe your grip is weaker in this direction than you'd expected it to be. It's not as neutral or as strong as you thought it was. And again, by looking at it on camera, you have a more objective view. Perhaps as you're swinging the club, this wrist is going into a cupping position. Again, some people will do it going back, but maybe at impact, you're more cupped this way than you thought you were going to be, and that's making the face roll more open as you're coming through. Maybe as you're coming through, your lead arm is going this way where the elbow is pointing towards the target. It's not rolling over. And by having that chicken wing or having the elbow point out this way, it's shoving the face open and making you hit block. So maybe you need to learn to release the club more. Maybe as you're coming down, you're getting too far under plane and your body's tilting back, or the club's dropping too far into this direction for whatever reason, and now all of a sudden the face is shoving open and you have a hard time squaring it up. Again, there can be other reasons as well, but I would go through the checklist of those things because those are the main reasons you're going to see 90-95% of golfers who struggle with an open club face have a hard time closing it down. It'll be one of those things that's the culprit. So you get to go through each checkpoint and say, okay, does my setup look good? Do my wrists look good? Does my release look fine? Does my shaft plane look okay? And if they are, well, then you can just work on drills to start closing down the club face. But if they aren't, you can start working on those things, because the better you get those things in your swing, the easier it'll be to close down the club face, or it might even make it more automatic for you altogether. So going through your checklist is going to be very important, because again, if you don't actually fix the root cause of what's going on, you're just trying to twist the face closed at all times one way or another, it's going to be tough to close down the face enough, or it's going to be tough to do it consistently. So always try and identify the main reason why you're leaving the club face open. You're not just trying to jam it closed when you're coming into impact. Now, after you've identified the main reason why you tend to leave the face open or you tend to hood the face closed, whichever side of the street you live on, again, hopefully you have your solution, the real reason why the face is getting off, and you're trying to work on that. After that, now we can start to work on some drills. In the next video after this, I'm going to talk specifically about the drills to make sure you're getting your face square and how to square up the face at impact and release the club. But the drills that you work on should help you, number one, identify your start line and make sure you're getting there the same way every single time. For example, one such drill would be this. You take an alignment stick and you set it up directly between your golf ball and the target. Now the stick should be about 5 to 7 feet out in front of you, so you're not going to hit it with your swing. But this stick should be directly between the golf ball and the target in the distance. Then you say, okay, let me learn to hit a cut. Let me make sure every single golf ball starts left of this stick and I make sure it cuts back. If the ball is hitting the stick, my face is more open than I wanted it to be. Or if I start it right of the stick, it was way too open. So you learn to close down the face and make sure every ball is starting left, and hopefully it's also fading back, but that's not the real point of this drill just yet, but you're learning to close down the face. Then you can do the opposite. Okay, I want to miss it more to the right. Well, let me make sure now I aim a little bit right and every single ball is starting to the right of this stick. I'm not hitting the stick over here, or I'm not missing to the left now. I am starting every ball to the right, and now I'm getting control of my start lines. And the closer you can get to hitting that stick without hitting it, the better control you have of your club face. Or if you want to make things real interesting, what you can do is, I don't have a second stick on me, but we'll imagine this as a stick. You can put two sticks together like this and you can create a window. You can hit shots where you get your ball to start flying through that window. Again, set it up 5-7 feet in front of you and have your ball go directly between the window right there. Once you get good at it with a pretty wide window, say, okay, now let me challenge myself. Let's bring those sticks in tighter. See if I can do it without hitting the sticks or missing the window. And if you get really good, bring it in so it's only maybe 2 or 3 balls wide and learn to send your golf ball through that as consistently as you can. And guess what? Now you're learning really good control of your start line, aka you're really learning how to square up that club face. So by paying attention to it and trying to challenge yourself to live on one side of the street or the other, or thread it up the middle, you're going to get really good at squaring up your face. So again, the main thing with club face is understanding that it's primarily determining your start line. If you can pay attention to your start line, you can understand if your face is open or if it's closed or if it's getting square. From there, if it tends to be too open or too closed for you, follow the breadcrumbs back. Put yourself on video and see where the club face is going open, whether it's your wrist, your grip, or whatever it might be, and learn to fix those things. Then you can train yourself to try and hit your start lines again and get better at starting your ball on line. And again, always pay attention to if it's starting on line, too far right or too far left, and make the adjustments as you need. The last thing I want to talk about face-wise is this. Face isn't just going to determine your start line. Face is going to affect a couple other things as well. The face is going to greatly determine, or greatly affect, I should say, where you're going to contact this golf ball on the club face. Here's what I mean. Think of it this way. If the club face is in this direction, what happens when I get the face to twist more closed over here? Well, what part of the club is going to hit the golf ball first? If the face is twist more closed like this, the toe of the club is going to enter into the golf ball first, which means we're going to, more likely than anything, hit it off the toe. Just like if the club face is very open in this direction, if we have the club face very open, what part of the club is going to reach the golf ball first? we're going to reach it with the heel first over here, and we're more likely to hit off the heel or even hit shanks when the club face starts to get open. So it's going to affect our contact, which is also going to affect our gear effect. So gear effect, quick review, if you haven't seen it in previous videos, gear effect is basically this. If we hit the ball lower on the face, it comes off lower with more spin. High on the face is higher with less spin. If we hit it towards the toe, the ball wants to have more of a hook. And if we hit it towards the heel, the ball wants to have more of a slice. Well, guess what? We're kind of doubling down if our club face is getting way too open or closed. Again, if we have the club face very closed over here and we're going to hit it off the toe to start, well, guess what just happened? The toe hits first because the club face is closed. So the ball is going to go more left because that face is closed like we just said. But also when we hit the ball towards the toe, what does it want to do? It wants to draw even more. Not just because the face was closed, but also because of the gear effect of hitting it off the toe. That's especially true with hybrids and woods and driver. And all of a sudden, if we hit it out there, we can so quickly hit a snap hook, it's not even funny. Or on the flip side, if our face comes in open and we're hitting it off the heel first, well, what's happening? First off, the open face is shoving our ball to the right, assuming we don't shank it. It's going to shove our ball off to the right. And then on top of that, hitting it off the heel makes us have even more fade spin. So the ball is just going to start right and it's going to go even further to the right. So by having our face be open or closed, we're really doubling down on missing in a particular direction. So it's super important that we're being able to score up the club face, not just for our start line, but also for the sake of our curvature, because our path relative to our face is going to make the ball curve. And same thing with contact on the face. Again, toe shots hook, heel shots want to slice. So it's going to make a big, big difference. And obviously hitting it way off the toe or the heel, you're not going to get your distance. The ball's not going to get in the air and fly the way you're hoping it will or predicting it will. It's a pretty devastating miss when that happens. So we want to make sure we're squaring up the club face for all of those reasons. So that's number one, the result you're going to see, but also you can kind of use that as a tool. If you tend to hit a lot of shots off the toe and you see your ball going more left than you think, well, that's another piece of proof that your club face is closed. If you tend to hit a lot of shots off the heel, it's more than likely that your face is open. That's not a guarantee. There's other things that can make you hit off the heel, but it's very likely that your club face is open, especially if the ball's starting to the right and then it's further fading because you're hitting it off the heel. So yet another way you can check yourself to say, hey, is my face tending to be more open or more closed? And you have another tool in your bag. So again, pay attention to your club face. Super, super important, because if we can't square up our club face, we're not going to be able to control our start line. We're not going to be able to control our curvature. And if we can't control our start line and our curvature, the ball is going to go everywhere sideways, and it's very unlikely you're going to be able to square it up and put on line, or at least on a consistent basis.